Hey y'all, welcome back to Weekly Hyperfixations. If you're new here, I'm Riot. If you're not new here, sorry it's been a while. We're gonna go with a little bit longer of an episode today, simultaneously to make up for a little bit for the wonky schedule we've had, and also because I am about to go on vacation for like a week. So I wanted to make sure that this episode was nice and like, I guess vocationally satisfying, for lack of like a better word for that. So let's go ahead and get into it. I have quite a few things to talk about, but once I get near the pyramid, I will be discussing Deltarune Chapter 5 spoilers, so I will give ample warning before I start talking about those, just in case. But let's get started. So Pokemon Go had their 10th anniversary a couple weeks ago, I think, and they had a very exclusive event for ambassadors and influencers in New York, where they fulfilled something that was advertised in the original Pokemon Go trailer, which was catching Mewtwo in Times Square as a group. A lot of people have issues with the fact that it was a super exclusive event, which fair. And the fact that also they waited 10 years to fulfill something that was in the initial trailer. But I think the most silly goofy thing that happened with it is that the day of the event, if you went in Tokyo to the Pokemon Center in Shibuya, the big tube with the big what would that be called? The big like tube that Mewtwo is in, that giant figure of Mewtwo was simply not there the whole day. He was gone. Which I thought was a great little thing, because a lot of people who didn't realize that it was the 10th anniversary were kind of panicking about it, which was funny. And I just liked that as a little environmental touch, I guess, to the whole event. So I just wanted to touch upon that. So last time I mentioned Love in Deep Space, and I mentioned the character Valko because I thought it was funny that he had 2 sets of ears. And then within like a week, they announced that they were canceling the character, even though the game is apparently designed to have 6 people. They also said that they were never going to introduce a 6th person, even though literally like a bunch of their merchandising has things that have 6 parts on it, because this character was meant to be introduced. And it kind of blew up into this whole thing where it's unclear whether or not, A, is this a PR stunt? B, did they actually think people were criticizing it? No. C, the reasoning that they publicly gave for the character being removed was giving examples of content that is found in another character's story, not his. And then also, on top of all of this, it looks like the government in China is trying to use this as an excuse to eliminate the otome genre, which, if you've been on the internet for as long as I have, you know that that's a pretty core factor of a lot of people's, a lot of the joke about like waifus and anime boys, anime husbandos or whatever the fuck. I've never liked calling them that. I just say husbands. But anyway, that genre has been around since the early 2000s at least, okay? And with that, and it's been very popular the whole time. So to have what seems to be a pre-planned crash out over something that has been entirely falsified is crazy. And I think it's so funny that I was like, oh, haha, guy with 4 ears. And then it's like, actually, we're trying to shut down the entire genre of this game. And now everyone is horrible for everything. And I'm like, what the fuck? What happened? But also, as a lot of Chinese companies, they do not listen to their global fan base, which is also damaging the situation. Anyway. It feels way too planned is the thing that I have a hang up about it with, is that I don't even give a shit about this game, but using a game as an excuse to try and destroy a genre because you personally don't like it is crazy. And to do it by lying and then outright within the week, people finding out that you're lying about it, like, really? That's what we're doing. Okay, well, I feel like a disappointed mom. I'll be so real. I'm like, well, I guess you thought that was a good idea. Like, you know what I mean? Anyway, oh my gosh. Another thing that's just one of those choices where you hear about it and you're like, that's an interesting choice. Jimmy Beast, as I will refer to him as, and I'm sure you know who I'm speaking of. He did something illegal. Crazy, I know. He didn't like how the sales numbers for his Jimmy Beast chocolates were doing. So he illegally put cameras in several places, including Walmart, even though he asked them and they said no. So he's just committed several federal crimes because he's butthurt that people don't like him. So very toddler, honestly. But I thought that was very funny because how dumb can you be to willingly do something like that, even though you're outwardly told by the company you asked, no, that's illegal. The audacity is crazy. What else do we got on here? I was gonna briefly mention the Avatar: The Last Airbender movie is being released soon, and I was kind of going apeshit over it with someone else because I watched a little bit of Voltron, but I wasn't like super in the fandom. And older Sokka just looks like Heath, and I think it's Zuko's VA has been changed. I've mentioned it before, but one of Sokka or Zuko, I can't remember which one, their VA got changed from the original, and now it's one of the Voltron voice actors for whichever part, I can't remember. But that goes crazy, actually. So that's just a fun and whimsical thing. I love knowing a fandom and being familiar with a fandom, but not actually being in the fandom, because it's very much like a knowledge that I carry that helps me engage in conversation with people who are in the fandom, but without seeming rude, because I've garnered enough information that I sort of know what's going on. And, you know, of course, if I'm talking to anyone about a fandom that I'm not actually in, I will preface it by saying, I don't go here being the name of the fandom or whatever media it is, but this is what I know about the fandom. Or, hey, this reminds me of the fandom. And it's almost, actually, I've never had a bad interaction with that format of talking about fandoms I'm not in. A crazy wild fandom that I completely missed. And to be fair, I did actually try to see if I would like that fandom, but my attention span, I was so hyperfixated on other fandoms that I couldn't get into it. And I dodged a bullet because that fandom was Homestuck. I read like 2 whole acts into it, maybe 3, but I didn't even read until seeing a single troll or anything. So like, I kind of go here Not really. I don't go. I say I don't. Sorry. I say I don't go to that fandom, as in like I don't go to that school kind of thing, because, you know, I don't know enough about it, but I know a little bit, and I was in a friend group where 90% of the people in the friend group participated in that fandom. So it's not like I'm completely lost if someone starts talking about it, you know? Anyway, I got a little off track there. Some things that I will briefly touch upon. Someone got a really funny glitch in one of the remakes for Final Fantasy VII. I can't remember which part it was, but it made for this excellently framed chocobo meme. That just delights me every time I see it. I'll be so real. And on top of that, someone did, you know, slice Cloud out of the image, first of all, but put the, hey, have you heard of the critically acclaimed MMORPG known as Final Fantasy XIV that has a free trial that actually, it's changed, so I don't remember how long the trial is, or, you know, they recently changed how far in you can play for free and stuff like that. Yeah, I thought that was really silly, goofy, and I loved that. Minecraft, along with the update that I believe I discussed last time. I'm double checking. Nope, it was before that. Was it really? Yeah. Okay, so back in early June, at the beginning of June, I talked about the Minecraft update that's upcoming, where they are going to be adding a fall biome and stuff like that. They're also adding cushions, which means we can sit. Finally, we can have proper seats. And they're kind of going crazy with how much you can put them on, but also people have discovered that you can put them on pressure plates and create traps, which is perfect because, at least in my very ADHD riddled mind, okay, sitting on a cushion, aka in this circumstance, using a new game mechanic and pressing a button in Minecraft, okay, to me, that's the same level of stim. Maybe not as good as pressing a button, but it's still definitely something that ADHD people will totally get caught on. And I think that'll be really funny. Also, the cushions also have made it so that you can trap yourself in glass, which doesn't hurt you, but it basically puts your body in a case, like a glass case, like a museum. So Minecraft roleplay is going to go real hard after this update. Let me tell you what. Listen, I'm in Legacy's SMP right now. If I have time for another SMP, or if Legacy's ends up finishing, I absolutely will try to do an SMP that is to that update, because that shit will go so hard. Anyway, or at least mods that put it into an older version of Minecraft, something where I can have those things, because that shit goes hard. A brief touch upon Marvel Rivals. Season 9 came out. The characters are Jubilee and the Hood, who I'm not familiar with. And technically he hasn't been, like, they haven't shown the full design for him or anything. So I'll just have my editor put Jubilee up. But I'm excited about her because, first of all, hey, that's another X-Men. Thank you. The season is about Apocalypse, though, so the whole season was going to be about X-Men. It lines up with the fact that X-Men 97 came out, season 2 came out, and it's about Apocalypse. So, by the way, not going to talk about spoilers because my editor hasn't seen season 2 yet. And I know he'd care about spoilers, but y'all, there's some shit going on in that. Woo! And also the hardest fucking lines I've ever heard in my life, which is so good. I want to shake the hand of whoever wrote episode 4 specifically. Please and thank you. Because that shit goes hard. That shit goes so hard. Hey, if it's not one person, if it's a team, I will shake all of your hands. Please and thank you. You are doing God's work. Thank you. Anyway, sorry, I got really distracted by that. The other thing I wanted to briefly mention is there is a skin for Gambit in Marvel Rivals. There's 4 skins actually that go with the Apocalypse theme, and they're the Horsemen of the Apocalypse. The first one was Logan, then it'll be Psylocke, then Gambit, and they haven't shown us the 4th one yet. But Gambit's Horsemen of the Apocalypse looks like a Stinian from Final Fantasy XIV. So I need to play the game again because I need it. I personally need it because he looks like a Stinian, and that's my Final Fantasy XIV Pookie. So hey. Also, I'm vaguely debating. I don't know how much of it you can see, but there's kind of a gray streak right here. I've probably mentioned it a couple times. And now that the gray streak's becoming really prominent, the urge to cosplay Rogue is getting stronger, which is silly, I know. But I mean, hey, I'm literally curly brown hair with a white streak developing. I lived in the South for a long time. That's not from the South, but I can do the voice, you know? Not quite her voice, but I can do a Southern. Sometimes I slip and it comes out anyway. Anyway. Sorry. Okay. I'm going to briefly touch upon what I've been doing in the Legacies SMP before I go into talking about Deltarune Chapter 5. So, as I mentioned, I am going to have to not, show up to any of the lore on the server because I'm going away for a week. And pretty much everyone who has had to dip out for a little bit has made some sort of in-character reason to not be there or something like that. Like some people have been temporarily incorporeal, I guess, is the best way to describe it. Another person who's actually gone at the same time as me, basically, within like a couple days of each other, their character's in quarantine, because, and this is not shown up in canon yet, but she's missing an eye, pretty fresh, and now, what I'm about to say is not confirmed because I have not asked them if that's what's happening, but they keep building some things that have mushrooms in them. And last time I saw their character model, there were little strands coming out from behind the eye patch. And I look at that and I go, are you becoming a Last of Us zombie? Is this a mycelia infection? What's happening? So when I heard them say that, oh yeah, my character is just going to be in quarantine while I'm gone. What does that mean? Hey, what does that mean? Hey, your character is just a little guy. What does that mean? My character is intentionally, hold on, let me get my notes. My notebook of lore, I guess. Not really. It's got like build plans and stuff and some notes. But I started establishing that my character was kind of feeling out of place because my character, out of all of the characters presented, is the furthest back in time, technically. Because my character, their time period that they've been pulled out of is ancient Greece, before the Peloponnesian War. So among everyone else, my character is the furthest back in time in terms of societal development, civilization development, technology development, every development, really. So they've started feeling a little bit out of place. And then we had the opening of the Dancing Petal Tavern where, where my character was present and did a couple things, but there was a whole several big lore conversations that happened that my character was simply not in, and excuse me. Because of that, they started to kind of get a little isolationist about it. And then what I ended up having, and this is the whole Minecraft book written out, this all from here down, this whole page. I specifically, what I wrote as the official reasoning is that Hyacinth decided to take a brief self-exile to try and communicate with the Greek gods outside of the world sphere. Because we met a important NPC who basically said that there was a crack in the world because we weren't supposed to be able to appear here. Which is probably the only thing that me or my character believes was truth out of that guy's mouth. Oh my gosh, excuse me. But basically, I'll give you the TLDR of the in-lore notebook that I wrote. Hold on one second. I'm gonna blow my nose. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry. You'll notice that my water bottle came back up here. It's because I needed it. So the TLDR of kind of what my character left behind for people to find is basically, I really need to take time to think about everything that we've learned, everything that's happened. You know, a character was permanently killed, which was crazy. And then, you know, we were led into the big scary mansion that we were previously not allowed to go into and stuff like that. And the Shadow Man NPC is somehow not able to go in there, and a bunch of stuff. The NPC that was in there, whose name is Lembrar, gave us like a bunch of reasonings as to like, basically he thinks the Shadow Man is the worst entity in the universe, I guess, because this is supposedly a prison dimension built just for that guy. And he literally said, I don't think I have to explain a prison meant for one person, or built for one person rather. Which, fair. However, the Shadow Man has expressed that he doesn't remember what he's here for. Like, he seems to believe that he must be a prisoner because that like kind of resonates with him, but he doesn't remember what he's in prison for. Which my character took fucking personally, okay? Basically, my character is aligning themselves with the Shadow Man over this new guy, and essentially is like, I don't care if this guy is meant to be trapped in here. Being trapped in one place for eternity is way too cruel. Even for like an actual god, that would be way too much cruelty. So I tried to impress upon the Shadow Man in character that my character doesn't think he deserves to be here, and that it's weird to my character that other people are so quick to call him prisoner and so quick to trust some of the information this man Lembrar has said to them, even though a lot of them are claiming they don't trust him, but yet they're taking everything he says as fact, which is not consistent. So essentially, I had an in-character chat with the Shadow Man that essentially, first of all, the Shadow Man's the only person Hyacinth told that they were going to go away for a little while. I expressed in character that Hyacinth doesn't like Lembrar at all, and how they disliked how quick people were to want to help this man. I also expressed that I think that the lofty promises that Lembrar was making to everyone can't possibly be fulfilled. And if they can be fulfilled, then Hyacinth doesn't think that Lembrar genuinely knows what will happen if he takes memories from people. I don't think he actually knows what will happen to that memory, because he claimed that people would still remember the memory, they just need the energy of the memory. I don't buy that at all, not for a second. But yeah, there's just so much. I also expressed that in character, which again, no one else in character knows about this conversation. It's just me and the Shadow Man that know about this conversation. Well, okay, people knew I was having a conversation with him, but they couldn't hear me, if that makes sense. Hyacinth expressed that they would be willing to learn how to take pictures. They'd learn what a camera is and learn how to use a camera, specifically to take pictures of the inside of the mansion for the Shadow Man, because he can't go in there. I mentioned the projector that is apparently not fully working. And I also mentioned the skulk sensors, skulk vein, all that stuff that was in the mansion, because the Shadow Man asked specifically about wardens, Minecraft wardens, which I do think they're leaning into the name being a dual thing, but I did mention that because he asked. And then I expressed in character to the Shadow Man that if there is a way out, I'm not leaving without him. And on top of that, if there is not a way to get out, if there's specifically not a way to get him out, if we can leave but he can't, I'm not leaving. I will say, I'm not sure that the Shadow Man caught that part of the sentiment of, if there's a way to get out, I'm not leaving without you, and if I can't leave without you, then I'm not leaving. Also, crazy to say to someone who you, like, don't talk to a lot. Crazy work. But Hyacinth also sees this man use lightning powers, so it's not fully out of their minds that it could be a god in disguise. So, yeah. Currently, my character is in exile. I built a large sun pattern on the ground and a big pyre. I'm in the process of getting materials to build another one on the main island next to Hyacinth's house. But while I will build the big sun floor, I won't be doing the I won't be building another pyre until I've decided that the stipulation might be until another character permanently dies, which would be an absolutely wild thing. But so I might do it if something else happens, depending on like how long and like how far into the upcoming division, I'll call it, is and feels. Also, as a little joke about enlightenment, when Hyacinth returns from their exile, their wings will have changed. The wings that everyone made, they made theirs. They look very, Da Vinci. They've got a wooden frame. red leather. But when they come back, they're going to be made of light, as an allusion to the fact that when they were alive, they were referred to as an oracle of the sun. But they've been disconnected from that. So part of the joke about the Enlightenment will be that they are accepting their title. They've remembered their title from when they were alive, and they are accepting that title again because so many characters in this server care about titles. You know, the false queen cares about the fact that she's called queen. The knight cares that she's a knight. Businessman cares that he's a businessman and a landlord. All of those things. I'm debating whether or not Hyacinth remembers their death. But I do think Hyacinth will have a better grasp on the other things they remember and not just, you know, maybe not their death, but they'll have a better remembering of who they are, you know, as a result of this enlightenment, because they're not going to learn any new information from this, but they will be solidifying their ideals, basically. And they will be reaccepting the title that they had in life. And I do think that their title will cause a shift because there are a couple characters that are religious. So walking in and being the Oracle of the Sun is crazy. Yeah. So, that's the tweet. Okay. I yapped about that for a long time. I'm now going to talk about Deltarune Chapter 5. There will be spoilers. I will be talking so many spoilers. The pyramid will also be spoilers. So if you do not want to see Deltarune Chapter 5 spoilers, I understand. I hope you had a great time. We will hopefully not be talking about Deltarune spoilers next week. Or not next week, in, you know, next episode. But if you need to leave because you don't want to see spoilers, I totally get it. Thank you for coming. Let's get into it, y'all. I really liked this chapter. Music goes crazy, first of all. Story goes crazy, first of all. Weird Root is short and goes crazy. I won't really be talking about the Weird Root, but I wanted to mention my impression of it. The big thing though is them flowers. What I really want to talk about, because I've put only Deltarune characters on the pyramid. So what I will mostly talk about is the fact that the lore implications of this chapter go crazy, dude. First of all, I somehow missed the piece of lore where the 7 flowers that Azrael keeps were the flowers from the wedding bouquet of him and Toriel. Crazy. Every flower's a banger. For some reason, it felt like Rudy getting sick, Noelle's dad, Rudy getting sick, had almost more of an impact on Asgore than losing his job as the police chief. But also I have a new theory as to who the Black Knight is. And it's the reason my opinion changed was based on a couple things Asgore said. So first of all, Asgore's known about the Dark World for a long time. Apparently, the Dark World was of issue before. Apparently, him trying to prove the Dark World existed is why Toriel ended up filing for divorce. because he obsessed over it so badly. The mayor, Noelle's mom, Carol, knows about this too, because he's trying to prove it to her. I don't like how much Carol knows. Okay? I don't like how much Carol knows. In fact, before what happens at the very end of chapter 5, Asgore outright says to Chris, we need to go tell the mayor right now, because you've seen it too. Which is crazy. Also, side note, highly implied that Ralsei is trans. Thank you. Loved that. Very excited about that. Very funny that Flowery picked up on it, but I digress. So at the end of the chapter, the knight takes Asgore. And it's a weird set of people the knight has been taking, in my opinion. Some people assume that the knight, a lot of people assume that the knight might be Des. There's a little, first of all, the Black Knight has horns, antlers, and they hold the sword like a bat sometimes. There's also like a drawing of a sword in December's room and stuff like that. But I totally think it could be her. I also think it would be a cool twist if it wasn't Des. And the only twist I think would be cooler than the Black Knight being December Holiday would be if the Black Knight is Carol or Rudy. Okay? I definitely think it's one of the three. I think it would be a cool twist ending if it was Carol or Rudy. The reason I think Carol could maybe ever so slightly fit into this category, and of course this is all theory. This is completely theory. The reason I think it would be cool if Carol was the Black Knight is because it feels a little bit like the Black Knight is trying to control aspects of something, and Carol is very clearly controlling. But again, Des could have also picked up those attributes from living and growing up around Carol. I don't think it's Rudy, but I do think it would be very cool if someone who is physically unwell in the real world is perfectly fine and well in the dark world. That would be fun. I think I'd like that anyway, but I do mostly still think it's Des, but I do think that it would be a cool twist if it was one of those other people. I don't think it's Noelle. It's definitely not Noelle. Crazy work, by the way. Girl. Yeah. The weird root, I can't wrap my brain around it, even though the differences were so small. There is an option in the weird root, actually, during a conversation between Chris and Susie, where you are given the option of saying, oh no, there's nothing between me and Noelle, and don't get in the way of me and Noelle. And if you try to say, don't get in the way of me and Noelle, Chris stops you from being able to get the words out of their body by jumping in the water, which I think is beautiful, because that shows a lot of why Chris doesn't like you, the player, is you're doing things that they don't want to do in any situation. But they also don't like having no bodily autonomy. So, you know, I mean, who wouldn't hate that, you know? But yeah, the Black Knight takes Asgore at the end, which is very interesting because the people that the Black Knight has presumably taken, obviously they took Undyne and they took Asgore, which to me, those two people being taken didn't quite click for me. Why? Because just saying that, the only real connection between them is police, basically. Also, Papyrus has been gone this whole damn time. Papyrus, where are you? That's just an aside, really, but dude. Anyway. I also won't be talking about any of the stuff about the friend because I've yet to watch that specific stuff, and that feels very spoiler territory in a way that I want to make sure I know what I'm talking about before I talk about it, you know? But I realized that a lot of the people who have been taken seem to know about, it's, you know, honestly, it's very typical human murder mystery. People are disappearing. Their one connection seems to be this big event that everyone keeps mentioning. You know, after the incident, after that happened, after that day. Interesting. And it also seems that the people who know about this day know the shelter code. Interesting. Also, the shelter code is a date. It's a month, day, year. Okay. The shelter code is, let me make sure I get the number of the day right. I can't remember if it was 5 or 6, but I have it written down. It wasn't 5 or 6, it was 15. The shelter code is 0915199X, which is September 15th, 1990 something. Which is interesting because that's a specific day. That's a specific day, right? I'm wondering about that. No, I'm very interested in that. September, early September, it could be when Des went missing. Because I don't think Carol was always the mayor. So maybe when they changed the code, they changed it to the day that December went missing. But I don't know. I think it's really interesting. I also wonder if maybe there was another person that we don't know. Another person we don't know at all. And something happened to that person. Maybe it's Papyrus, honestly. Because where is he? But he, regardless, I'm wondering if it's someone who we haven't seen that went missing, and Des has been looking for this person, you know? Also, again, people keep bringing up, oh, Ralsei's gonna come home from college, or sorry, not Ralsei, Azrael. It's because they're it's the same thing with Deltarune and Undertale. Ralsei and Azrael are the same letters. Anyway, people keep mentioning, oh, I wonder if Azrael would mind if we came and visited him early before he has to come home. Oh, Azrael's gonna come home soon. All of these things telling you this person is coming, this person is coming, this person's gonna be here. First of all, I don't think, okay. I either think the second Azrael gets in town, he's going to be abducted by the Black Knight, basically. I also think, and I say that because Azrael is in love with December Holiday, and then she disappeared. She fucking disappeared, okay? I'm also wondering if Azrael's already missing and they don't know yet because he's been at college. weird thing to not, you know, notify the parents about, but it's possible. I'm Tobias Fox. You have all of us in your grubby little hands, and we aren't going anywhere. Quite frankly, we're too invested. Sunk cost fallacy, if anything. But dude weaves a mad narrative. Hate the way I said that, but dude weaves a mad narrative. Genuinely. And I mean that positively. Anyway, I was kind of all over the place with that. I'll be so real, but I just got excited talking about it. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the pyramid because I want to talk about the flowers. And I will be talking about one additional character to the flowers, of course. But I will give you my opinions of the characters that did not make the pyramid specifically, because it was a hard decision, but there's some characters I was just way more attached to. So first of all, shout out to Orange. People need to stop bullying you, Orange. It's okay that you're small, because that means you can do other things other people can't. I promise you it's going to be okay. Blue? Stop stealing. Very pretty, very elegant. Watch yourself. With that, everyone else is on the pyramid. So let's get into it. First up on the pyramid is Pink. Yes, I'm aware that Pink is not a flower. She's a cutie Mew Mew figure that has animated, you know, anime voice lines. She's an anime girl figure that has a button that gives voice lines. It's very cute. I loved her boss fight because, first of all, Hatsune Miku jump scare. Second of all, they go through 4 different types of gameplay, I think, if not more, in that one boss fight. And also bringing in the Mad Dummy spirit is a crazy pull. I loved it personally. I really liked all of the splitting as well. And the dummy eventually relinquishing basically the it's not that deep kind of thing. And like, everything will work out better if this happens, and like, we can find a place for you and all this stuff. I loved it. It was a very creative time all around. And I also really like the dummy fight from Undertale. So seeing the dummy, technically, again, the spirit in the dummy again, and excuse me, hearing the motif that the dummy and Napstablook both have was crazy. So I really liked Pink. Though other flowers captured my attention more. Next up on the pyramid is Flowery. He almost did not make it to the pyramid. First of all, his introduction scene is crazy. Every single person I've watched play through that sequence is like, did my game close? What's this? Did my game crash? Why is there a video playing? Like, to something to that effect. That shit's crazy. I loved it though. I really loved the anime overtones of this entire chapter. I mean, Toby Fox knows his audience. He knew it was gonna hit, so. But the only reason Flowery ended up making it is because of what he does at the very end of the chapter. When the Black Knight tries to take Asgore, he tries to fight the knight and tries to get Asgore back, and is slashed in half in the process. And because of that, Flowery is barely alive. Susie kind of tries to fix him when they get back to the real world, but it's grim. So in his last moments, he literally had the most whiplash redemption ever. Otherwise, dude can piss off. But Next up on the pyramid is Seth. And now, if you're not familiar with Deltarune, you're thinking, hey, you said flowers. The fuck is Seth? Seth is the chosen name of a violet, a purple flower. Seth is great. I love that the poem that Birdley writes at the festival about how pretty violet flowers are because they look like Susie. And then that causing the character Seth to really admire and idolize Birdley because he said all those nice things about them. And then, of course, Seth's also very nerdy and reads and does poetry a lot. It was just beautiful. I really liked how they tied that character. They tied that character in to a character who's barely present in the chapter. It was beautiful. A brief, completely missable moment. It was great. And I had a hard time choosing between these top three, okay? Next up on the pyramid is Aqua. She's so whimsy. I love her. I love that she doesn't quite get it ever, but she wants to play. And I really like Jevil as well. There's a lot of Jevil references, by the way, from the flowers, but like Blue keeps talking about the world revolving, which is the name of Jevil's fight soundtrack and stuff like that. But Aqua's just silly goofy, and she almost acts like she's little, even though all of the flowers are the same age. But she's just an absolute delight. And I love how involved she was in the story. Next up on the pyramid is Yellow, the cowboy. I really liked Yellow and Blue causing you to have to play Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. Crazy. But I really liked Yellow. And Yellow has a lot of issues with hating himself and, thinking he deserves to be punished and stuff. Very weird sense of justice. But I really like Yellow because honestly, you have to remember that all of these flowers are real flowers that Asgore talks to every day. And it feels like all of the flowers have taken on a different aspect of Asgore, if that makes sense. Because Seth talks about how Asgore reads to them, and Yellow and Blue seem very they're good character foils, honestly, because Yellow feels very much like he listens mostly to how Asgore talks about himself. And then Blue seems to be kind of like how Asgore talks about himself when he is more like, how do I describe it? I guess like how I mentioned previously, Asgore is like, Toriel ended up divorcing me because I was way too focused on trying to prove this thing, but it is real. We know it's real. So I think Blue is that like stubborn, like I'm right kind of thing. Like, I know what I'm doing. You're wrong. I'm right. I'm not moving on this kind of stubbornness almost. Green, who I'll get to in a minute, but Green takes care of the other flowers. Orange is very worried about being bullied, worried about people saying things about her that aren't true. And then Aqua, underneath all of that, Aqua is very, she's still playful and carefree, which it kind of feels like an inner child kind of thing. And then Flowery kind of feels like Asgore projecting Rudy. Like, it feels like Flowery hasn't quite absorbed how Asgore operates, but rather how Asgore talks about Rudy, which is kind of homoerotic. I can get behind that. That's okay. But anyways, Yellow, I first of all love the gimmick with Yellow. Love that he's rootin' tootin' cowboy who has a high sense of justice that's very flexible and things like that. He's easily fooled even though he's justice or whatever. But also he has an implied Southern accent, which is really masterfully done, honestly. Like spelling criminal. So you kind of have to say criminal, kind of that kind of thing. Love an implied accent through text. But Yellow is second place on the pyramid because I just loved seeing him on screen every time. And then finally, top of the pyramid, you may have guessed, but top of the pyramid is actually green. First of all, not what people usually assume to be a flower color. But green is one of the 7 flowers, and green does not talk. Green uses signs when they have to use actual words. Green cooks. Green cooks food. Green almost never, actually no, never. Green never actually attacks the party. And instead, green will heal you, maximum, which is very sweet. Green is just a cutie patootie that everyone's excited to see and so gentle and sweet. So green's my favorite flower for sure. Yellow and aqua were pretty close, but it's definitely green. Absolute sweetie pie. And that's the pyramid. I loved this chapter of Deltarune, if you can't tell. I am so excited to watch about 50 lore recaps and theories about this shit because it's always good. Tobias Fox knows how to fucking cook, dude. And making a mechanic where you can change from 3D to 2D, crazy. Very Paper Mario. I loved it a lot. And the fact that every time a new chapter comes out, I go, I fucking love this. This is my favorite. And that happens every time. Hey, calm down, Tobias Fox. I swear to God. Also, there were so many little references to other games. Well, some of them were little. Like, there's a poster that says there's a picture of Temmie with extra ears drawn on telling you to try a critically acclaimed MMO. Hey, that's Final Fantasy XIV. Blueprints made by a blue prince. Crazy. What was the other one that I'm trying to remember? Oh, they referenced the Beatles' White Album, which was crazy. Just like all of these references. This game was a game of reference, and I love that. Big on nostalgia. In fact, Flowery even outright calls it that. So big ups to Flowery for being the big neon sign going, this was the chapter for your dad's nostalgia, basically. But it was so good. I loved it. I hope y'all have a good week. I'll see y'all same time, same place, 2 weeks out. I hope y'all had fun. I know I did. Go ahead, like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. It really helps out the channel. And honestly, helps motivate me to make the best thing I can for y'all. I know it's not, you know, stellar quality, but also at this point in time, this is really just passion project. I really just want to, you know, share what I've been fixating on. And by doing so, kind of track things over time. And it'll be, you know, it'll be amazing to look back on and things like that. So I hope y'all had fun. Hopefully we'll be getting into a smoother schedule. After my trip, we're going to try out a thing where I film on the off week so that my editor has a whole week, technically more than a week, to edit the episode, just to make it a little more flexible for them. So things will be a little different feeling, I guess, for a little bit, but I'm excited to do that because hopefully it'll smooth out scheduling a lot more, gives me a lot more time to do things. So yeah, I'll see y'all next time. I hope you had a good one. Make sure to hydrate and stay cool. It's hot out there. Stay safe. And yeah, we'll see y'all next time.